Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. Joining me from the Fateless team, going to be Sham and Simon. And then our special guest for this episode is going to be Vex. Go ahead and hello. Let people know a little bit about yourself and a little bit of your background and all that good stuff.
My name is Vex. I have tons of things in my backlog. I guess the things that are related to Fateless and Godforge. Really, I'm an esports coach. I do a lot of D&D DMing, so like some world creation and things like that, some writing. I do a lot of content creation. I'm a streamer primarily, but I've been doing YouTube videos for quite some time now. And I work with a couple of like gaming companies as my sponsors. So I'm in and around the space.
Say esports coach, which kind of like genres or main games over the years? Any like organizations, anything like that?
So it's at the high school level, so we're kind of limited in what we can play, but mainly FPSs. And this year we've got a heavy focus on Valorant and Counter-Strike.
Nice. I used to be actually quite good at that style of game until I got old, and but I feel like I know I'm still positioned well. I know someone's coming. My crosshair's in the right place. I'm just too damn slow now. I'm just too slow to hit the face at the right time. And I'm like, what's happened? Like I used to be out there. Yeah. I guess now I play a lot of games where I don't need that reaction time anymore. So it's it's diminished significantly, I have to say. It's very sad. Very sad. I'm playing Valorant. I'm feeling like I'm solid. I know the abilities well. And I'm like,
you look at the kill count and you're like, these are not the
gold. I'm like, hold on a minute. I used to be like, he's bloody good at this.
There's a reason
we'll talk after. I'll coach you.
Yeah, you got the man here to help you. There's a reason all the FPS pros tend to be like 18 to 25, don't they, Vex?
Yeah. And it seems like it's getting younger and younger, and that's part of the big thing. Like when players get a little bit older, they start to feel like they've been pushed out. And that's because other things take over in their life, right? They've got work, they've got a life, they've got a family, and they just don't have as much time to put into. And that my kids would absolutely smoke me because they just play all day, and I play maybe a couple hours a day, if that. And it's just we can't put the time into it.
So my first online game was Raven Shield, which was a what was it? Rainbow Siege.
Rainbow Six. Yeah.
Rainbow Six game. Rainbow Six, yeah.
Okay,
gotcha. It was one of their first kind of like competitive online games. And I played that game non-stop. Like I was kind of 18. When I first started playing the game, I had dial-up internet. And I was like, Mum, we need to upgrade. Like this shit is not working right now. I'm literally like 200 fucking MS on my ping, and I'm getting absolutely done by these people that are useless. I played that game a ton.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Kind of like
Rainbow
it was
Six,
awesome,
that brings back some memories.
Loved it. Yeah,
dude,
great.
So from a coaching perspective, so like I kind of I've talked about this a couple times. I coached rock climbers, and it's kind of that same thing where it's like you might not be there's no way that I'm as strong climber as any of the climbers that I'm working with right now. Much younger, much stronger. And you're saying that you're not at the level of probably some of these guys that you're coaching. So but for gaming coaching, because I haven't really had a conversation with somebody that does this. What does it look like? Is it a lot of like mental coaching? Is it strategy? Is it teamwork? What are we talking about here?
So a lot of my students are actually ESL. So a lot of it is trying to get them to work as a team with others that aren't necessarily like their immediate friend group. But when you're not as good as your athletes, you have to train them in ways that you're better than them at, which is strategy, teamwork, communication. It could be just sort of general physical qualities, just like the way that they're positioned, trying to like optimize the way that they maneuver, things like that.
And do you have them kind of get like reps in a sense? You're like, all right, hey guys, we need to practice our, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, because what you guys are talking about with it getting younger and younger, the reality is that's a maturing sport, right? It's the same thing that happened. That's why, gymnasts for a long time. It's like, oh, you could be these old. Now it's like 14. Well, your career's over. You're you're done. So it's a sign of a maturing sport. But I'm thinking for some similarities here. For climbing, a lot of it is like you said, practice, but it's like practice is not all practice is created equal, as I'm sure you know, right? It's specific, directed practice. It's strategic practice. There's a lot to it, right? So, but do you guys do you think of it that way? I didn't know this was the direction it's going to go. Maybe we should.
Well, so quickly, there's there's regular practice. There's sort of like teaching people how to like warm up properly, what to look for, and there's like different levels to it too. Like I'll give somebody a different warm up regimen that's in bronze that I would in immortal or like higher ranks, right? There's different strategies for that. But then there's like scrimmages, there's in-house stuff. There's just sort of like, hey, duo with this person I've never seen you play with before. I want to see how you two interact. It's a lot of
team stuff,
like immediate talking for an hour and then just sitting back and watching and seeing what happens. And then me sort of filing through that data and trying to help them along, nudge them along in a direction.
Yeah, I bet there's an element as well, like making sure people adopt the right role. Having a shot caller that is able to think, beyond their own game is so essential in that type of environment. And sometimes someone might just be the kind of like confident guy in the room suddenly becomes a shot caller. It doesn't mean they're the best at it. It doesn't mean that they're the one who actually understands, that kind of like more macro level way of thinking. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Really cool. So yeah. Well, so and then I guess you mentioned you were before we started the call, you mentioned you were a teacher, or maybe or I think during the call, actually, now that I think about it. How did you get into kind of like what the real topic of today's is going to be, in kind of like merch and conventions and stuff like that? Like how do those two worlds kind of collide?
So I've always been a gamer. I've always been a nerd, a weeb, whatever you want to call me. So I've always been like attached to this space. I remember in high school, which is actually the place that I coach at, I was like trying to convince them to upgrade the computer so I could play the beta for League of Legends, because I was just like super into this new game. So I've always been around, and that sort of pushed me into wanting to work at like a nerd place. So I applied to a couple comic book shops and things like that. And I actually got in with what is now probably the largest retailer of Magic the Gathering cards on the East Coast of the United States, I'll say. Okay. Comics and Magic the Gathering cards. So because of that, I was sort of exposed to Magic the Gathering coverage and like streaming and, playing competitively that way. And I decided that I didn't want to work retail anymore. And I had been in talks with somebody who had worked at the school that I currently coach at, and they were looking to get into the esports sort of gaming space. So I put together a huge like presentation for them, and I sat in front of a couple people and I said, hey, this is why I think esports would be really cool. I've always been the like shot caller type, the person who's like never the best at the team, but definitely like the best sort of, like Simon said, the macro viewer. So I presented it to them, and they were like, heck yeah, let's do this. And then we got like a pretty sizable donation to the program from one of the parents that allowed us to get like a good swath of computers that could handle it. And it's now been a couple of years.
That's super cool. Yeah. So then from there, like, do you just go and you're a merch enthusiast, or do you do, I mean, obviously you've worked, like you said, at a large comic and magic card, but I imagine that they had all kinds of different stuff. Like, so did you ever go to conventions and stuff, and from that perspective?
Yeah. So we used to travel just about every weekend to a different city in the US to vend at conventions. And most of the time it would just be like individual units, like a card or something like that. But every now and then there'd be some merch. I got in with some of the artists in the Artist Alley space to see what they had to offer, that coupled with the esports stuff, we've tried to do merch a couple times. We have like a young entrepreneur like institute at our school. So we've got like the equipment to like produce various types of merch, and we have a school store that they would try to sell stuff through.
Where are you teaching? Is this like what's going on over there? You're like, oh yeah, we've got this program where we fly kids around for free, and it's super fun. Like whatever.
It's a really good school.
I mean, maybe you don't want to say, but you're teaching it at a good school. I guess I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool actually. And,
So
I guess like how did you come across like this space in terms of, you know, being interested in Godforge and this kind of like genre? Because I've watched a bunch of your videos. I know you're a big WoW player and
yeah.
So kind of what moved you in this sort of direction?
Well, I like I said, I've always been a weeb. I just recently, within the past couple of years, have gotten into like gacha gaming, and that space is just like, at least now, super merch heavy. And there's always like super interesting and unique items for me to spend my money on.
IPs, baby.
Not
Yeah,
in
that's the thing.
game.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting. And like I'm an artist myself. I do conventions and sell my own art. I'm always looking for new things to I guess leech from, because I've always got like a million ideas, but I'm always like super invested into like a couple fandoms. So I started playing gacha games, and I actually got a sponsor for Raid, and I started playing Raid, got hooked. It's on my second monitor as we speak.
He's actually farming right now.
Yeah. Spider 20. Let's go. But I had just happened upon the HH site because I was looking for like an optimal build for some character.
Of course he did.
Sure.
And and it led me to Simon's channel, and that's how I found Fateless, you know, when that announcement came by.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
And like, so I guess to speak to the merch stuff for a second. So you said you're a part of a bunch of different fandoms. What is the kind of merch that you really see really sinking in for people in these groups? Like what's like the big, is it miniatures? Is it book stuff? Is it, what is it? What do you see?
I think there's two answers. There's sort of like the generic stuff and then the unique stuff. The generic stuff is like a hat or a shirt or, you know, a 1/6 size model or a bust or something like that. Like I saw, however long ago, it was like 6 months ago, you had those like 3D printed character models of some of the characters from Godforge. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic. So I think like that sort of mainstay stuff is just sort of expected when it comes to a fandom, or it comes to like a customer who's looking to support a particular game or a company or something. But I think the things that I see that do the best are the more unique things, like a carry-on, like sort of keychain tag with like a character's face on it, or like a uniquely shaped acrylic stand rather than a full 3D character. It's like just a flat 2D art. So it's a little bit more affordable. It's sort of like the unique things that I see sell a little bit more and have a little bit more hype around them. I'll mention there's one of the Hoyoverse games, Zenless Zone Zero. They have a rug that you cannot purchase, and it's in the shape of, it's like essentially like a football shape, but it's like super long, and it looks kind of like a cat but with like 6 arms, and it's like the weirdest thing.
I'm so confused. Okay, they have it, you can't purchase it. It looks weird. Where do you get it?
That's it. That thing specifically drives people to participate in events and to go to pop-up events that they have to try to get their hands on it. It's such a unique thing. I've never seen like this bizarre looking rug. Like, who wants a rug? Like, maybe I'm not old enough yet to be like, oh, I really want that rug. But like,
I mean, Depends on what it looks like, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That's interesting. We've been toying around this idea of in-game packs. So that's not the new thing, by the way. In-game pack where it's like, you could buy however many shards, say for $50. But what about if there was a smaller amount of shards, but an actual 3D figure as an in-game purchase? Do you feel like that's something that would resonate with you or with people in this genre? Do you think that's something that people would get on board with?
Let me clarify. You meant a 3D, like physical thing would be sent to
actually
you.
Sent to your house. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, let's say we've got a banner on. The banner is Anubis, and it was our new character that we released for the month. So you can either just buy the normal shard pack or a shard pack plus this figure, which is only available for this kind of month, but you would physically get the figure as like
100%. Find my wallet. It's not here. Take my money.
Okay.
So I think when I first got into Raid, I thought it was really interesting that they had like a super lacking amount of cosmetics in the game. And this is as somebody who is coming from other types of gacha games and Valorant and all these things that have like a overabundance of cosmetics.
Ton of it. Yeah.
And I was like super tempted to just buy like a pack that came with a skin for Nut, or it came with a skin for Kale or something like that. And that's just like a in-game cosmetic. And maybe this is a little bit too much of the sort of D&D nerd in me, but if I got a new character, or I'm really looking forward to Anubis being launched, I like really identify with this character, and I could spend a little bit extra money and get a tiny, even if it's just like a 85 millimeter or something, figure of the character that I just got sent to me. Are you kidding me? Heck yeah.
Awesome. That's cool. And we're kind of like, we're toying with the idea. And firstly, we don't know how challenging that actually is in reality. And it's not whether we can get them made and that type of stuff. It's more, is there some sort of legal reason that this would be difficult to do, or, all that type of stuff. But it just felt like to me, I would love to do it. And a lot of the times when we're kind of like making these decisions, it's like, well, ultimately we play these games. We understand the market as well as anyone else, I think. And it's like, I think I would love to do that. I would be the collector of these things. So, it's super interesting. I guess we should spin it over to you, Vex. Like, what, have you got any burning questions that you'd like to kind of ask, or any kind of like feedback, feelings from stuff that you've seen so far that you'd like to kind of talk through?
I mean, I've started to slowly put together, I really like bringing onto my stream a presentation to talk about something that I'm really passionate about. So I've been putting together slowly this like slideshow, this super teacher slideshow of like,
this is so teacher. I love this. Let's go.
what good and bad things I take from every gacha game I've sort of ever played. And it's meant to be shown to the crew at Fateless through myself as like a wish list sort of thing.
Cool.
Because I've toyed around in Unreal and Unity and been like, oh, wouldn't it be so cool if I created my own gacha game? But like, I'm one person, right? And I've got a million things going on, so I know it'll never happen. But it was like a sort of a personal project to try to figure out what Godforge could potentially bring to hook me personally. That's beyond just the sort of surface level cool gods and goddesses and myths and legends and whatnot. And I think chiefly among them, and this dream was shot down almost immediately, but I had a pretty big gripe, and I still have a pretty big gripe around energy systems. I understand the argument for and against them, but as far as wish lists, I think the roguelike potential, or the sort of normalized mode that's sort of been talked about loosely here and there, I think is the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest make or break for Godforge. I think as somebody who played a lot and still plays a lot of Magic the Gathering, the aspect of drafting characters and coming to a familiar space with an unfamiliar set of tools and using my brain to sort of figure out a way through to victory, I think is the
this is an interesting topic,
appeal.
honestly, because we've been a bit back and forth internally on this one, right? So I have a similar view to you in terms of, I think this will be a super fun mode. You know, you've got the ability to play with characters that you've never used before, or just craft these kind of like awesome combos, or even hope that the awesome combo drops for you in this draft session to the first piece you've bought. Like there's all these different elements to it. But there's kind of like another point of view in the team where it's more angled at, hold on a minute, it doesn't reflect my account, and therefore it's like, hold on, are we building two separate games here? Like it should be more based on my account.
Sure.
So we kind of got this like back and forth, and then if it's not based on my account, how does it kind of like really fit into my core loop of gameplay? Is it almost just like this bolt-on thing on the side that you don't have to do, therefore it won't be done a lot?
Sure.
So there's a real different opinions on whether it's going to be like a hit or a miss. Like I'm well in the hit camp, but I'm definitely not. You know, there's other points of view as well, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like if you play with a character, if you know Thor comes in and you're really liking Thor, but your personal account doesn't have Thor, and then Thor comes around and has like a higher chance to get him out of shards or whatever, you know, are you then more inclined to spend money or to spend your saved pulls to try to get him because you've been playing with him for so long and now you get to have your own? Or yeah, there's a little bit of a feel bad there. I think Arc Knights does this particularly well. That's a Watcher of Realms style tower defense, just with like an anime skin on it. They have a roguelike that has seasons. The seasons are pretty long, and you can still play previous seasons if you missed out on the rewards. But the roguelike is essentially just the paths and the stages that you play on, and you recruit characters from your own roster as you go. So that way you're never playing with characters.
Are they normalized characters, like the stats, or are they literally your characters?
They're literally your characters.
Okay.
There's a couple of ways to get characters that are normalized that you don't have. And those are sort of like the lightning strikes and you get good luck and you're like, oh yes, I can go recruit this like super powerful character I don't have to help me through the rest of this run.
But so it's not a normalized PvP is what you're saying?
No.
Or
it's just
PvE,
like
sorry, roguelike.
More on the roguelike side.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference out of the two? If it was your account versus random drafting?
I think for the style of game that Godforge is going for, I think drafting would be my personal opinion. And normalized. And maybe there's some roguelike stuff. I think in a couple previous podcasts, it's been talked that like, you know, what if you get in this run, your characters get plus 5% attack in this way or something like that. You know, it's just sort of buffs and debuffs.
We've got some creative stuff go on the roguelike end. The question mark is around like what is the normalized, what does it exactly look like and how does that work?
Yeah. Should it start with like, should you start with one of your heroes and then you draft in, or should it be a complete draft of random heroes that you don't own, or should it literally be you've got a chance for it to drop your heroes, but it's that's the round, like that's where a lot of the topics going through. And I'm curious, Brad, I know you enjoy like competitive style of gameplay. A lot of the stuff you play is, I guess, in effect normalized, isn't it? Because it's like RTS, so there's no like, this is my account.
They're normalized.
Like, yeah, what's your view on this type of stuff?
Yeah, a couple different things. Yeah, like StarCraft is a little bit different because you don't level up your account, you level up yourself. So like, I'm gonna log in and play for 8 hours, and I'm going to personally get better, and then you just keep doing that. And I'm sure you can relate, Vex, with FPS. You know, you kind of level up yourself and you get better as a team and all that. And the reason I tend to agree with like Simon is that like it's more likely to be a hit is because I like just playing all the games that I've ever done. I don't remember a normalized PvP or a roguelike type scenario that made the game worse. I don't remember an example of that. Like
right.
Like Hearthstone in the arena or AFK Journey with Honor Duel.
Made it a lot better, honestly.
Yeah, I don't remember a single case where it was like, oh, this game would have been a lot better without that. So yeah, it just I guess it depends how.
I think that comes down to if there was some effort put into it, doesn't it? Because I've played Eternal Evolution. Actually, I really enjoyed Eternal Evolution. It had a roguelike-ish thing where you kind of like you have to make a couple of decisions, but it was such a pointless mode that you basically couldn't lose. It was just all it was doing was eating some of my time.
Yeah, wasting
and I knew
time.
that I was just going to get all of the rewards. So in the end, actually, after about 6 months, they just put an autocomplete on that mode.
Oof.
So it was literally just, here's my rewards, thank you for the day.
It's a daily reward, basically.
At that point, honestly, I think as soon as you just say, click, here's all my rewards, is actually dead content. It's
just remove it. Yeah.
Like at that point, you haven't played anything.
So yeah, no, it has to have the tension, like the tension of starting a Hearthstone arena, and you're like, I might only win one game, or oh my god, I won 9. Like, you have.
Have you ever been like halfway through your picks on Hearthstone Arena, and you're like, I already want to get to the
You're
next
like,
one.
can I get this thing over with? Like, just move on.
You're just like, what is this crap? Like, I've gone in a direction, now it's trying to offer me a different direction. None of it's making any sense. I know I'm not winning any battles with this. Just like, move me on.
Just move on. Just shoot me now. Like, get it over, get it out of the way.
I actually love the draft in it. Like, almost as much as I enjoy the playing side of it, the draft is a lot of fun. Because you're like, oh, I've already got these combos. Have I got a really good sort of balanced deck? What type of deck am I trying to achieve here? I actually really find that side of it fun.
Yeah, like that part's always the most fun. Like why do people play fantasy football? It's meeting up with your friends and having a draft, and you got a big draft board, and like, okay, how do I value this player? Like that's always the most fun. So I agree.
But the argument is valid. Like if you think about a player has a limited amount of time and resource and energy and excitement to play your game. So if you tell them, okay, go spend all your time on this mode that is normalized, that doesn't have any connection to your account, then why build my account? That's the question mark, right? And why spend resources in another part?
Right? You can give rewards.
I'm not. This is devil's advocate, right? Because I actually think this is a great idea. But I get where you can limit it. There's all kinds of ways you can fix this, right? You can limit it so that there's only a certain number of keys or whatever. But I mean, it's a valid point, like to really consider, like how. I think if it's not integrated well into the core loop, and I think that we will have to build a system where it's a part of it. I think it's going to be a hard sell, especially for early on, for early days, where it's like we really want people to be building their accounts up, really getting and understanding why our game is super fun and why the core loop is exciting and something that keeps me coming back and that type of stuff. But yeah, I would love to hear, Vex, what you think about it, man.
So I've thought about this quite a bit, and I've said it a couple times that I think that this is not a on-launch feature. I think this is something that can be hyped up through in-game events or social media or things like 3 or 6 months after launch, as something like to look forward to. Like you spend the first part of launch like building your account, learning the characters, learning the game, and then this new feature comes out, and it's not something that demands all of your time, but it is something that you can sink your time into, something that you do get rewards out of, and it could just be simply like, gems or extra energy or whatever. Yeah. But I think back to my gripes with energy, and it's just sort of like I want to play your game more, and if there is a mode where I can sink time into, I don't have to worry. I can use all my energy. I can do my dailies. I can do that. And then I can swap to, drafting or, playing a normalized mode or something.
Yeah. But one thing I think we've now, appreciated, I guess, is that there won't be normalized PvP and a normalized roguelike on launch. We want to do one of them, and we think it's probably going to be the roguelike over the PvP because we have a couple of other PvP modes, but there won't be both of them on launch. And one of them will definitely come a bit further down the line, just because both of them, they've got a lot of kind of like systems which sit outside of kind of like core gameplay, and it's just a lot of dead time, honestly. So we're kind of like, it's going to be one or the other for launch.
But we had an interesting conversation the other day, Brad. I know you remember the around the way that we could potentially, again, this is like we haven't finalized, integrate the roguelike into really the core systems of the game, which is. But that doesn't change what Simon said. I think it's exactly the same.
Because it does come a point. So we've got this whole laundry list of features that we want to launch with, and like what other stuff which we've enjoyed in other games and that type of thing. And it gets to a point where you're like, right, we've now got to cull that down, and then we've already got our first year plus, honestly, of live ops ideas of when would we like to drop different things to. Because you obviously need to keep interest and new stuff coming into the game and that as well. So, yeah, I mean, going back to what you said earlier around, you'd love to build a gotcha game, but you're just one guy. Wow. Like now after a couple of years
simple,
in,
right, Simon?
It is insane the amount of stuff that you've got to try and get done, man. It's mind-blowing, honestly. Like in terms of now being in the mix of it on a day-to-day. And we just come off of a sprint just before Christmas, and we're like, right, what have we got done? Where are we at? And it's just relentless.
Pages and pages.
It's relentless amounts of stuff. Yeah,
that's just dev stuff. And then you had talked about potentially adding like a physical reward or something.
Yeah,
and that involves shipping, and that involves manufacturing and things like that.
Yeah, and we've got all of these. So we've already had quotes for that type of stuff. Like all of these things are just. Bits of work happening all simultaneously, and literally our diary is like, right, what have we got now? Okay, we're talking about art, then we're talking about design, then we're talking dev. Oh, let's go and talk to these manufacturers. Oh, then we're going to talk to this investment group. And you actually get to the end of the day, you're just like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Did we do it? Did we finish? We finished something, right? I think. We got something done. Oh yeah, but the reality is like the team around us and everybody that we're working with.
Something.
I mean, that's the thing. We've really built this team where we've got it like. They're locked in. They know the things they need to get done. They've got their team, they're part of their team that they're working on, and we're kind of coming in and making sure, okay, this is fitting with what Simon's kind of telling the community, with what we're saying, our vision for the project as a whole, for what we believe is going to be really successful when we hit the market, for our strategies, for marketing, stuff like that. And so, yeah, I don't know. I agree, man, Simon. It's because in your mind, especially coming from indie, when you do it, like I came from indie for a long time, and it's like, oh yeah, we can do all these things. This is going to be super simple because you're doing things just at a different scale. You don't realize how much effort and work and planning that goes into just like a single pipeline to get like, okay, we're gonna do hundreds of this, and we need to repeat that and do it right and have the right people and have enough people and have them, like it's.
So when I create a sticker that I think that I'm going to sell at like my next convention or whatever, it's do the art, send it off to the menu. And then if I do something for, like I collab with Glitch Energy to do one of their cups, that's a whole separate thing. We've got like 3 different artists that put their touches on it. We've got to talk to the cup manufacturer. We've got to talk to the VP to clear things. Yeah. It's like such a longer and slow process. And it's like, I did this art 6 months ago.
And that's one element, right? That's
that's just one thing.
Like the cup, It's so crazy. Like, and when you think about scale and you think about, IP, stakeholders and all that kind of stuff. It's nice. It's nice for us that obviously we are the IP stakeholders. We're not calling up,
Homer
groups and going like, yeah, exactly. Homer or yeah, we're not calling up like Disney and saying like, is it cool for our our princesses to look at each other and they're gonna be like, nah, man, you can't.
Right.
That's not a thing.
Yeah.
So I guess just to veer us back over to merch for a second. Is there anything where you're like, oh, this is kind of cringy, like we should definitely not do this, either from a product perspective or from a price point perspective? Like, I'd love to hear kind of your insights from that, because I mean, years of working on that.
So I think the biggest thing is respect for the customer. And now I'm starting to really feel this as somebody who sells art and sells merch myself. The price point has to really be worth it for the product that you're making. Like you could make the, maybe 1/4 scale character and price that pretty high, and the customer would be like, okay, well, I expect a certain amount of care to have gone into creating this thing, a certain amount of work, things like that. If you charge $50 for a pullover sweatshirt that simply has your logo on it, I'm probably going to laugh at you and just, click off the page. It has to be something that clearly time has gone into, but is also kind of unique and at a good price point. That also makes sense for the business.
Yeah, because a lot of those things, a lot of those decisions, sometimes it might feel like, oh, hold on a minute, they're expensive. But a lot of that goes down to currently we don't have any scale. Currently,
Right.
It's being completely controlled by somebody else who's basically putting the initial price point to us and saying we can ship anywhere. Sounds great, but actually that's double the price of, the guy down the road who you buy in bulk from. When your price goes out there and everyone's like, Christ, you must be making a lot of money here. And you're thinking, we're not making any money.
No.
We're literally not making any money.
This is the cost.
That comes down to like good sourcing. And that has its own, dilemmas. Do you care about, domestic or international sourcing? What's your timeline? Things like that. So all of these things can be factored in when creating a piece of merchandise you feel like the customers want and will purchase. And ideally, everything you make, someone will want to purchase it. And it also has to be something that like you're excited about. Like I'm not excited about plain black tees with my logo on them. Like I probably wouldn't wear it. So like, why would I make that? So it's also about being sort of proud of what you make.
Well, what are you so excited about? What are you making? What are you making, and what do you want to see?
Oh man,
like us make? What should we make? Maybe that's the best question.
I'll give you the link to my manufacturer because I want to get like one of everything that they produce because they're all so cool.
Yeah, please. Definitely get us
and
connected.
It's like simple things like pins or like different shaped keychains. Like I think as a sort of anime nerd and coming from the artist alley side of like a convention and not so much the like comic and Funko Pop side of a convention, I care more about unique products that showcase characters that I really identify with. Like if I went to a convention and somebody had a booth that was all Godforge, like every character from Kojiki faction and in like a little cute keychain, like I'm spending all my money. Like I I think and I'm thinking kind of like on the raid side of things, like maybe this is maybe a demographic difference, but what raid merch is there? The game's been out for 5 years.
Yeah, they literally just launched a merch store, which is hoodies and stuff. Yeah.
And it's like super basic. Like it's nice, but like I'm not excited about it. Like I watched Simon's unboxing of like the most recent package you got, and that was cool, but like not cool enough to make me want to go buy one. Sorry, Simon, nothing against you. But.
No, well, I
more
tried
excitement,
my best.
Man. More excitement.
Come on.
But it's like simple.
Sorry, I am interested
products.
in demographic though. You mentioned there. So if you're selling at a convention, and it's stuff that's related to like gotcha games, that type of thing, like what type of age group are you selling to, do you think?
Literally all age groups. And it's businessmen that, either buy for themselves or for their family, or it's moms, or it's kids with extra money to spend, or it's, people around my age. Like it's literally everybody, because everybody just wants a little bit of joy, and sometimes seeing like their favorite character in like what if Godforge is a Kraken success, and everybody loves all the characters except for Polyphemus. And Polyphemus never gets any love. But then there's like that one small group of the fandom that really likes Polyphemus, and one person makes like one sticker, and that sticker immediately sells out, because there's tons of these people who go to these conventions who are looking specifically for their character. And of course, like there's going to be the big hitters that everybody likes, but it's about maybe having like a breadth of options too. Like if there was, you know, a raid shirt for every single one of the legendaries, obviously that's a huge undertaking, but I'm sure, you know, it'd be really nice for everybody to have something for them.
How successful were those conventions? Like from a business perspective, like when you would go there, is it like, oh man, we are killing it, like I just have, oh my, holy shit? Or was it like, oh, I'm sitting here all day and I get like 8 people that want to do it?
So it's you know, very hit or miss, at least on the artist alley side. On the vending side, it was always a success. And it's really just like picking the conventions you go to. Conventions now are just like always sold out. Like tickets are always sold out, all 3 days, 4 days, whatever. It's particularly the artist alley side of things where things get a bit bloated. As somebody who does like a lot of anime art, there's a lot of people who do a lot of anime art. So like, it's just a lot of bloat. But at least when I was vending for Magic the Gathering stuff, it was always, every weekend was an incredible success. Like it was one of those weekends where we needed more people behind the booth so we could take more sales.
Just sell more,
yeah, because there was always a line and people would just walk away.
I always wondered that, like, because this isn't like new.
Right.
These people know that this is going to happen. So why not just bring more people? I don't know, pay a couple more people. It's
people
like,
are expensive.
It's like 3 cards, dude. Well, hold on. It's like 3 cards that you need to sell, and you probably you're like, all right, cool. We got one guy. That's 3 cards. 5 more cards. Cool. We've got, you know, like the rest of the. We're good. I don't understand. Let's do magic. You know.
Right. And it's also, at least when attending a convention to vend at, it's a cost of how much it costs to get the people there, and how much does it cost to get the goods there. Because you're limited by how much you can take. And if you
so again, more people, man. You got some mules. Like,
right.
Bring it in.
I was wondering that at TwitchCon, Sham. It's like, why are we in line for 6 hours to get our badge? Like, like what is going on here? You knew how many people are coming.
They're trying to make their margins, and it's. I get it in a sense, right?
Well, and also people don't want to be hired for like, can you just come for 2 hours?
For 2 hours
on this
day?
Right. Yeah, it's like, no, I'm either coming for the day or I'm not. Like, so you got 1,000 people queuing up to give you your badge for 2 hours, and then they all go, and there's like 5 people left. Like that's basically what you need to do from a recruitment point of view. It just doesn't work. But yeah,
some more transient. We need somewhere to like just describe from the I don't know, from the restaurant industry. Just grab some crew from that. So they can, people love. I mean, I used when I was younger. I used to love to do that type of shit. I would get behind you know, like any way I could connect to comics or anime or conventions. I'm just like, I don't care, man. Want me to clean the bathroom? Yeah, I'm down, as long as you give me I don't know.
So another thing on merch I really wanted to touch on was the sort of template format. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but if you have something that is structured well enough, you can use it in multiple places and on multiple things. Like as an example, if you use a character design as a sticker, you could probably then use it as a keychain, and then you could probably scale it up for like a stand, something like that. Being able to
post character.
Utilize one thing multiple ways, and hopefully from the same manufacturer, so it keeps shipping rates down.
Makes sense. I'm gonna throw you one little curveball before, because I know we're running a little bit out of time, but this is gonna be a fun curveball. I'm just gonna say it. AI. So you know, as an artist, you come in, you're making all this stuff,
right?
And people can quickly generate this stuff. Like, has that? I guess forgetting about like what you think, and has that affected that part of the business? I guess has that changed it? So yeah,
it has not affected me.
Okay.
I don't think it has affected me nearly as much as sort of bigger artists. And at the very least, when I'm applying to conventions and whatnot, there are rules on if you are within the artist category, you may not sell things that were generated with AI.
Really?
That seems to be the standard.
Okay.
The leniency on vendors is sort of free game. You see AI artwork.
So if you're a
being
vendor,
sold.
maybe it's just like for marketing pieces, or is it for actual merch?
Well, so, yeah, for merch. Sorry, most times in conventions, there's either exhibitors or artists, and exhibitors will fall under like a different category, and it costs more to get your booth. So the convention probably doesn't care, if you're selling like AI stuff.
Okay.
As far as my personal views, I won't go into because that'll be another 2 hours.
Yeah.
But I will say that I was featured on the Philip DeFranco show for my views on AI.
Oh,
Back
so
when
we
like
should look this up.
Midjourney was like first
we
coming
should link
up.
this, I guess, or should we? I don't know. You tell me.
I
Should
have
we link
a
this?
more controversial take than most artists might have, but
Well, now that you said it, people can find it in 10 seconds.
yeah.
Fair enough. Exactly.
Fair enough.
Okay. Well, and we're kind of running low on time, and this has been super fun. But we always ask a couple questions.
Well,
Right?
this is the first time I'm 99% sure I know what the answer's going to be, but you carry on, Brett.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, Vex.
9. It's close.
Thanks for the chat. And one thing we like to ask on the way out, that you may or may not be familiar with, is just kind of a gut reaction. The first thing that comes to mind, the kind of game we're making. Is there anybody that stands out that you would request, like, hey, please put them in the game as a collectible hero?
So I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's a really popular myth in China, and the character is Sun Wukong. So I had tried
I've heard this spoken about, I don't know,
No,
at least 20 times now.
Yeah.
I was thinking about trying to get a Wukong cosplay to wear during this.
Just to answer the question immediately.
Right,
I guess
right.
we know your answer.
Yeah.
So I actually have
like a mask or something. Yeah, cool.
If you'll indulge me, I do have like a real answer. So Wukong's kind of like the baseline. It's a when, not an if type of thing. I did see on I think an unintentional Simon leak that Odysseus was amongst the characters.
Can't confirm or deny any of this, unfortunately.
Right. But I have an interesting take. If at all at some point there becomes voice acting in any sort of sense of the word, there is a ongoing concept album that is intended to be a musical centered around the Odyssey. It's called Epic the Musical. It is wildly popular. On Spotify, when a new album drops, it's immediately #1, iTunes, YouTube, whatever. It's super popular. The guy who is producing it is the singer and voice of Odysseus. And he is a chronically online nerd. He absolutely loves artwork and just
call this guy up today. I mean, again, can't confirm or deny anything, but
and it would be such like a perfect melding of fandoms, and it would just be absolutely fantastic. And my wife would love it because she's the one who got me into Epic.
Oh, really?
We listen to it on repeat like every day. So my real answer would be if there's voice acting to get Odysseus to be the voice.
Do you know the
Odysseus.
actor's name by chance?
Yeah, it's Jorge Rivera Herons.
Quick question on voice acting then. So we're going to have it in some places for sure, like cutscenes and stuff. But if we had voice acting for our actual characters, our actual heroes, how often do you want to hear that? Like if they're like banging off an ult and it's like keep doing this same old line, how quickly is that
Righteous
annoying?
fire, and you're like,
yeah. Like, so
So
I guess, is it one of those things we think we want but we don't want, or do you think we actually do want it? It's just it's a certain level of it.
So you mentioned Star Rail a lot, Honkai Star Rail, and their voice acting is pretty much limited to interactions between characters during certain cutscenes, and then during their ultimate. And I think that is like the perfect amount. Genshin Impact has a little bit more. Zenless Zone Zero has a little bit less. And ultimately, I want to play the game with the sound on. But if there's nothing for me to hear, I'm going to turn it off and put on a video instead. So I'm in the camp of keep it to a decent amount, not too much, not too little.
Love it, man. Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
it's been fun.
This has been great. Yeah.
Vex, thanks. And
thanks for having me.
Really appreciate taking the time to hang out with us. And for all of you watching, we will link to all of Vex's stuff to go check out down in the vid description. And on behalf of Sham and Simon, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching and appreciate your time, Vex. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you soon in the next Fateless podcast
as well.
episode. Cheers.